unmuted.
All right, we're ready. The zoning board meeting shall come to order on today, which is March 21st. It is 6:30. Everybody in the audience, please silence your cell phones. Appreciate it. And we're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, tonight we have one appeal to hear and to decide whether to grant or deny the request of a variance based on the established zoning board, zoning laws of the town of Manlius. The board will hear the appeal, we will hear from the applicant, and there will be time to hear from the public on that variance, and we will make our decision by voice votes. First, have the board members reviewed the minutes from last meeting?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Well, the minutes have been approved as written. Thank you. The legal notice for tonight's agenda has been published to notify the general public of this meeting. May I make a motion to waive the reading of this publication?
I believe that we are in, that we did actually close the public hearing.
No.
Did we?
No, we kept it open.
Did we end up
We did.
keeping it open?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I'll make that motion. To waive the public reading.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the motion passes. At this time, I request a motion to open the public hearing on the first agenda item. On the first.
Do we have to do a motion to reopen
Do
it
we
if
need
it's
to
still open?
reopen? If it's still open?
See, I'm just looking at the minutes.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure we closed the public.
We closed the
Hearing.
public hearing, but kept the matter
Open.
open.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Then
Tabled the
Tabled
matter.
it.
I'll
But
make a
you
motion
are-
to open the public hearing.
We can
I'll second.
rebuild.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Nope.
Okay. All right, this is for Mr. Woodridge to come forward. And basically tell us what you'd like to do and why you need the variance.
Yeah, good morning, or good evening. Last we left the last meeting, you guys gave me the courtesy to go back and kind of explore some other options, right? There was an open discussion around other options on the property and that, so I did a few things. One, we wanted to kind of identify where the septic was in the front yard in Leachfield, so I called Onondaga County. Home was built in '58, so they don't have any records or plans of where that septic is. I did take it upon myself to go out and do some measurements, and you can kind of see Leachfield by sticking some things in the ground and that, so I've got kind of an associated direction of that Leachfield. I identified that on the survey when I submitted that to Carrie to try to give you a bit of a more accurate representation of where that Leachfield and septic was. You guys also did not have the record of the age of the house. The other thing was to look at, it was suggested on the side of the property, so along the side of the house. So there's a tree there that I forgot about, plotted that on the survey as well, so you had a representation of that, and then did some measurements over there. The challenge with the side of the property, it drops 1.5 feet from the road down 30 feet towards the road, so it makes it pretty prohibitive to get that garage level and have it be an entry point to the garage unless I change elevation on that side of the property. I'd also have to figure out how I would get access to the garage because I'd have to go around the big tree in the front or submit something to get a driveway put in on that side. So I discounted that. And then I went back to to where the building was first proposed. What I submitted was shrinking the footprint from 14 to 12 foot and also pushing it back, I think another 3 foot, which opened another 5 foot on the variance that I first asked for. So from, I think 22 to, I think it was 18 or 17 foot variance, I think is what I submitted for. Same plot. What I also did was try to submitted some pictures to make a visual representation. It's hard for me to understand where the variance line is. Like, I can see the edge of the road, and then on a survey, there's a dotted line, and that's the line that everybody, measures off the 40 feet. I think it's about 8 foot off the road. But the building would be, visually, it's over 30 foot off the road, off the side of the road, not the actual variance because it's on the other side of the ditch, but, so I tried to give some options to, push the building back a bit, small in the footprint to reduce the amount of variance, get it off the road more. That's what I submitted. In the last week, I had another option come to mind. I went out and did some measurement, and that's basically taking that building and pushing it back towards the side lawn. So I made another representation of that. It's basically, if I may, taking the building and pushing it back. So then it would be behind the tree. It'd be 30 foot off the sideline. And basically, I can still use the front of the driveway to enter the garage. And this is all level ground here. So it basically takes it out of visual view because it's a huge tree right there. I can't, put my arms around it. So it would, and I got some pictures here of like what that would look like. So you kind of have a visual of like from the road and stuff. So that's the other option, just to get it out of, I think the main objective, if I recall right, was visual. I think it was more like, is it visually appearing to the neighborhood? Is somebody gonna have objective to it? Have we done it before? Right, given courtesy. So that other option I came up with this week would kind of put it out of optics of anybody driving by. It also would help me in my front yard because I wouldn't notice it as much being by the tree.
It wouldn't cover your house as much.
Exactly,
You'd still have, even if you did that, you'd still have to be no more than 20 foot off the side, or no less than 20 foot off the side, I mean.
Absolutely.
All he did was give you a new drawing of where that building was and some footage off the side. And then this is the side of the road, right? I don't know where this part for me, it's not marked on my property. And then what I did also was give you some visual representation from the road, Google Maps. I just tried to give you some type of feeling of that option was proposed.
that I think was everything from the last meeting.
Still need the front.
Okay, so if we had the alternate proposal. Okay, okay. All right, okay.
You wanna see this one? Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't do
Oh, it's.
a number of copies.
I was gonna say, can we just make sure that ends up in,
Yes.
Yes.
Make sure
I
everything's on
can
this
email it too.
okay,
Yeah.
I figured if I emailed it to you before tonight, we'd also.
one. No worries. Or should we close it? Right,
there are no
Okay.
other participants?
no other participants? Let me submit this right now for public. Okay, all right, so this is a letter we got from a neighbor. It says, thank you for the update on this. Mr. Woodbridge is still asking for a large variance, which is the original concern. Was glad to see the alternative options were presented, confident that the board will do what is best for everyone. I'm going to pass that to the letter from the neighbor. That was from the neighbor.
Did it say for or against? It didn't.
Well, it was a response.
Originally, she was against.
She was against it. And then we had to submit to the alternative plans and we were looking at alternatives. And she responded, thank you for the update on this, because Carrie sent out the alternatives we were having Mr. Woodridge look at. Thank you for the update on this. Mr. Woodridge is still asking for a large variance, which was the original concern. So she's concerned about the large variance being asked. Was glad to see the alternative options were presented, confident that the board will do what is best for everyone. But she didn't see this alternative, because this is just presented now.
No, this alternative that he just came up with and gave us no.
Okay.
That one doesn't fix her concern with variance, so the large variance
Mhm.
is,
So, okay. All right, so, thank you very much. So then, do I go here? Or
Yeah,
this was
right, so we're gonna do the questions, but do you want to ask them based on the first proposal or the second proposal as chair? That's
Yeah.
your prerogative.
And we asked the seeker questions. Do we want to go off the proposal that was originally submitted, or do we want to go off this alternative?
The next alternative,
Next alternative.
that's behind the oak tree.
Yes, sorry, not that one, that's behind the oak tree. Do you want to go off the 5 seeker questions based off that, or based off what has been submitted?
I would think off of this.
Do you want to go?
Off of what's up here or that one?
Well,
I would,
right, I mean, so this is there's alternative requests. So,
Do we want to go through to each 5 seekers based on both? Or is that too much? Do we have to
I don't,
close it?
you know, I guess I would,
I didn't know about
Yes.
this till tonight. obviously.
Yeah,
mhm. You know, if there's an overall, feeling that the second alternative is better than the first in any way, then we could start with that, or if it's 6 one, half dozen the other, it is a different scenario.
all right, so I think,
We're, that is alternative 1, that is alternative 2. we're
Correct.
Speaking.
yes.
Yes.
So do we want to answer the 5 seeker questions?
Mhm.
I'm gonna decide,
Before we do that, can we just confirm, I'm going to, if we're gonna go with the second one, you're saying it's gonna be 30 feet roughly off from the side yard property line, which would be in line with your home. This measurement right here is, if you're looking at this is 15, and then this is roughly 11. So we're going to about right here, where this,
This has a chance to pass on. I think. That's it.
I know that's very rudimentary, but that would be where we're talking about putting it, right? So we have a visual representation of the second plan.
So there's no side yard variance required
No.
that would
off
be
of
within
that, so.
It's just essentially pushing it back.
Yeah, I just wanted to have that,
mhm.
we could clean that up, I just wanna have that.
But it doesn't impinge on the side yard variance becoming another factor to consider.
No, because he has 20 feet that his house is in compliance, he only needs 20 feet for the side yard, so he's, I mean, he would be 10 feet, if you put it directly in line with his house, he would be 27.
27 feet, 6 inches.
Mhm.
So you'd have to come
Yeah, the way I measured
Yeah.
it, the edge of the building would almost be right on the backside of this garage, and that would go right, like you were saying, Tom, right to the edge of I mean, they're rough numbers, but I
Yeah.
do measurements myself, but you're right, it should be parallel to the house, which gives me 30 feet off the edge of that garage to the side yard.
Property would be right there. That's rough, but.
Right. That's what I tried to represent in that other one there.
Okay.
Didn't know we had arts and crafts time.
Yeah, I just wanted to put that for when we're
No, that's
talking
good.
about it.
All right, so let's do this. Let's look at the original first, look at the 5 seekers questions. And if it doesn't look like it's going down the right path, we could look at the alternatives too. Does that make sense? So we would look at this one first, discuss what's happening. Think about this one and answer these 5 seeker questions. If it looks like it's not a feasible option, we could look at the alternative and take those seeker questions out into an account for the second alternative. Does that sound okay? All right. You wanna have a seat?
Sure.
Okay. So the first seeker question I'm gonna ask is whether under, oh, I'm sorry, I got a motion to close the public hearing.
I have a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any opposed? Okay.
And there was nobody online.
Nobody
Just
online.
note in the tape.
So then let's look at this. I'm gonna go, number 2, because we're going off of what, I'm gonna go what the neighbor wrote into that, right? Whether undesirable change can be produced in character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties. Let's do
This
that
is
one.
alternative 1.
Alternative 1, based on this one, the original that was submitted that we reviewed before tonight. So I'm going to, whether undesirable change can be produced in character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties.
Yes.
Yes,
Correct.
I think that's a yes.
That's a yes. Okay, so let's discuss. Based off the neighbor's letter, she's saying no. She
And
doesn't-
their own personal observations.
Yes,
Right.
yes. Yeah, I mean, having a shed in the
Everyone
front.
wants.
If it's
Mhm.
Yep,
directly in front of the house, yes.
yes. It's in the front yard. It's still in the front yard. No other property for 2 miles has something in the front yard. What else? Any other?
Anything about the size in relation to the setback?
He shrank it.
So it's smaller than the original answer.
Right.
But still pretty substantial.
And
It's pretty big.
And just to clarify, it's a garage, not a shed,
Thank you.
right? Just for nomenclature
Yeah.
purposes or
So
semantics.
let's look at that. Is there anybody in the neighborhood that has a garage, even if it's shrunk that size in the front yard?
Not in the immediate vicinity.
Yeah.
Up further, yes.
So it does create an undesirable change in the neighborhood by those.
yes.
Okay, all right. So far, yes. So, let's look at the environmental factors. What do you think about the environmental factors it could impact? So let's ask the question. Would the variance have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood?
No.
You think?
I think we had talked about the, the visual impairment is an environmental condition, if that's what people think.
There's
That
also
is,
septic in the front yard. We know where it is now, correct?
Yeah,
That's
but these
official?
made accommodations to make sure it's not.
Okay,
this one is closer certainly than would be if it were moved. to a
Right, but it's
different-
also,
Are you saying
It's also-
alternative one is closer to the subject than
Yes.
alternative two?
yes,
yeah,
Okay.
but alternative one, when it comes to the septic, you're not penetrating the ground, so, it's a pad versus,
I think it impacts the.
I'd be
visual
more
side of it.
concerned of an environmental standpoint of that if you were digging into the ground, which you're not,
Mhm.
right?
And visual impairment at this alternative one?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. Yeah, all right. So far, we have 2 yeses. So should we continue looking at this one?
Well, may as well
Okay.
answer the last one, which is.
Whether the need of this variance is self-created?
yes.
Yes. Would the benefit of the applicant be achieved by some other means if there's another way to achieve what they would like?
I think there's a feasible alternative.
As we had alternative number 2 presented tonight, would that be feasible? I don't know if that would be
Or other
for discussion
Or other alternative,
or other alternatives, such as,
side of the house. There is room, there's the proper distance between the house and the garage. And it would require a variance because he'd have a slim amount of room between the property line, which we saw on the left,
Yeah, I know, but
and
now,
the edge of the garage.
he would need a side yard variance though on that side then, right?
no,
I
he's
think-
talking, he's back on this other side of the house, right?
I'm
If you're looking at the house, you're
Looking
talking,
at the house will be on the left.
yeah, so,
Oh, over here.
so here's the questions to that though, is he'd still have to remove a birch tree that's there, right? And then as far as what would we have to grant for a access point? Jamie,
We can't grant access points.
right, but if he was-
It would have to come, he would have to build something that would come across. He can't get another road access. Our highway superintendent would not allow another
right,
access.
no,
So
you're
it would
gonna
have
get
to
2
be
curb cuts off that property.
some kind of a,
The highway superintendent wouldn't allow another access from the road.
no, correct. Right, so that would have to stay where it is.
Okay.
And any other feasible alternatives?
I mean, you said the side yard, could be backyard. Right?
Didn't you say the backyard was soft?
2 things in the backyard. One, there's a birch tree between the side of the house and the property line, right? I can just barely get
like lawnmower through there, we could probably get a truck if I push back the hedgerow, right? And then the backyard is wet, all wetlands right there. And again, the use case for the garage is a parking vehicle, and I'm not sure how I can do that without getting around, so that's why I discounted that option.
Okay, so we've done question number 1. Question number 2.
Or we had talked, I think, also about tandem, if that was an alternative.
Or move it closer even to the house, but you've got the septic right there. Right, wasn't that another thing, Lauren?
Tandem on the driveway, right?
Yeah, that was, you said that you wouldn't consider that. And I can understand why.
No,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that one, you wanna talk about close to a neighbor, that one does that too.
Mark next door, yeah.
You'd be in his house almost, so. That doesn't,
yeah, okay. All right. I also say like, but it's wet back there. I mean, birch trees tend to die quickly but then you also said it was wet back there, so it's,
Well, that's what he said.
yeah. That's what
so
you
you
said.
did, we did question 1, 2,
Mhm.
3.
Oh, whether the request is substantial. So he did knock it down to 18 feet from 22, correct?
We're still talking about 1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're only talking about 1. I mean, but the storage is substantial, but the variance itself, is it still substantial? It's more than 50%.
Just less than.
But just less, yeah, it's still
Pretty substantial.
substantial in the grounds of what we typically have. You're not talking 4 feet, you're talking 18 feet, still a
It's
substantial
pretty
request.
substantial, yeah. Okay. So. Anything else, Warren? So we're just going off of that one, off of, so,
Off of this, no.
okay.
That's it, move on to the
Should
alternate.
we look at alternative 2?
Yes.
So is there any, right now, overwhelming support that this is the, the benefit to the applicant outweighs detriment to the community on this one right now?
It does not. No, because I think the neighborhood letter and all the secret questions we've answered have been yes. So I said it does not outweigh the detriment of the neighborhood. So, all right.
That's correct.
Okay, so then. It does not, so do we agree with that? So should I make a motion for that?
Well,
Or do we want to?
I don't think we have to make a motion if you go in a different direction. If not, if they're both no, then
We'll make a
finish it
motion.
up. Mhm.
Do we want to look at alternative 2?
Sure.
Okay. All right. You guys looked at this? Have you seen this? Okay. So let's answer the questions based off alternative 2. He still would need, it's behind the tree. How much would be the variance would need for that? Is it the same?
Same variance.
So the same variance of 18 feet? Okay. So let's go back to the questions in order that I asked them instead of, I just had to change things up real quick.
You threw me off to them.
I know.
I was like.
Okay, so,
Remember if we did them.
you know what, I'm gonna go to question number 3. Is it still substantial? Is the request still substantial?
Yeah, you just asked them for 18 feet.
Yeah, so it's the same. The request will be adverse effect on environmental effects on the neighborhood or surrounding areas. If it's behind the tree, it
No.
wouldn't have a visual impact of pulling out and pulling into the driveway. Would it?
I have a comment.
Yeah,
Trees aren't forever.
Especially birch trees.
Well, this is an oak.
It's an
It's
oak,
oak.
but any tree is not forever.
I would say this, if you are inclined, as you go along, you can have conditions attached to this. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar, but you all have been there. Could there be additional plantings under the oak tree? Or if the oak tree were to come down, would you want some kind of plantings that would shield this? I don't know what would grow under the oak tree, I just have literally no idea. Or do you say, hey, if the oak tree goes, you know, does he then have to plant? So those can be conditions, if that's something.
Did they cut away part of that oak tree?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Great cut away some of this, right?
They got away that.
Power lines, right?
Yeah,
That tree's
I'm
gonna
gonna
be
grab yourself.
pretty substantial.
It looks like it.
Bring it up.
The garage is portable, so it's not gonna fix to the ground, so, I mean, it could be conditioned on, keeps, you know.
This one, yeah.
Okay.
Can I see that drawing again?
This one?
Can I propose alternative three while we're asking these questions?
No, let's go through all the questions.
First,
Okay, that's
yeah.
fine. No, I've got an
Alright.
idea, so.
So whether the need for this variance is self-created,
Yes.
okay, I agree.
I think that's always a yes.
It always seems, yeah.
I'm not sure that other question was answered about the visual impairment and physical factors.
Oh, so, you're right, so Claire said trees are not, trees are temporary. So the environmental factor. We said before, I mean, off of alternative one, is the visual impairment, right, if pulling into the driveway. Would that still have that? I mean, do we want to compare it to that, what we thought before versus now?
I think it's a no,
It's still a front yard.
right, but I think that the answer to that question is a no, because yes, that tree might not be forever, but you also have that hedgerow there. Now, could you clear cut everything and not have anything, and then that would change the answer to the question, but as it currently sits, which is what we're being asked.
Or if you put a condition.
To replace the tree.
Yeah, should the tree come down, that another tree would have to go in its place.
The
That would
other
be hard to get a
thing,
tree that big, but.
it's moving away from all this commotion in front of the house and the cars and a thing, you know, a structure and the driving. You could also, again, when you're giving a variance, you can give reasonable conditions, and maybe you can say there can be no parking in the front yard, except in the
Driveway.
in the
Storage.
unit.
Okay.
So you can't have the garage or parking, and if there's no parking allowed, or even if it has to be restored. Those are just suggestions of what some conditions might be if this is a better alternative. So,
Yeah. Are you saying the condition would be that he would only be allowed to park in the driveway or park the things in the garage, the storage?
That's just-
Storage.
it's the first time I've seen it, so I'm just shaking
Okay.
my head here like everyone else, but yes, that was simply one option.
Will this variance cause an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or the nearby properties?
Carrie, can I ask, where did we leave off with 4?
Oh,
I don't think we got
I-
a definite, we've got, Tim said no, or Tim saying no, Claire said yes, where are we with that one?
I think it's not quite decided yet,
I think it's
unless
still up
maybe
in
we
there.
talk about
Okay.
conditions or something.
yeah.
Okay, I just wanna make sure I'm not
We'll
missing.
circle back to it.
4.
Then whether the request will have an adverse physical or environmental effects on your neighborhood or surrounding areas. Environmental impact.
I didn't answer, I'm still thinking about all this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, process a little bit.
Do you want to come back to that question?
Certainly can.
Yeah, we could.
Will this variance cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or nearby properties? I say yes.
I say yes.
Yes.
I would say yes with the condition of it not being as much as the alternative one. And partly because you're offset from the front of the house, you're not directly in
Yeah.
front of the house where if you drive by that house, the first thing and only thing you're gonna see at that point in alternative one is that garage.
Are we more
He's still in.
worried about the visuals or the actual variance?
The variance has to do, the variance has criterion, and that's all. These are just the criterion, so that if it was even a bigger variance, if everything else was met, then I'd be like, okay, you know, it's like, it's a balancing.
So if it was 40, within the, if it was 40 foot off, it wouldn't matter whether it was in the front area or not. It's still-
Correct, yeah, correct, yeah. So you could put, correct.
Yeah, you could go 40 off and put it right in the, if you didn't have the septic there, you just put it right in the middle of your yard and there's no need for variance whatsoever.
I get you. I would just, wouldn't, if I was a neighbor, it would matter to me, okay, I'm gonna give myself another, 18 feet, but it's still in the middle of my, it's still visually displeasing. It doesn't solve for the visual displeasing part. That's all I was just trying to.
Right, and that was why I had question, was, yeah, visually displeasing.
There wouldn't be grounds from a neighbor to, have,
Well, and that's-
concern, because they wouldn't have a choice, right? I mean, the variance, but.
That's why these questions
Right,
are
but-
so important.
Right, that's why they're balanced. Mhm.
Yeah, just understanding.
So going back to that question, Warren, did you answer that question? Will the variance cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or for nearby properties?
I say yes.
Claire?
Alright,
Like I said, yes with a condition.
you would say yes, but it can be mitigated by conditions, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and I also am saying that alternative 2 is yes, but not as big of an issue as alternative 1.
Right. But remember, a variance can be denied entirely, so you do not have to pick an alternative. So if, right now I have 2 people who are saying that it's an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood. One person saying, yeah, it's undesirable, but can be mitigated to the extent that you might say it's okay. And what do you think those mitigating factors would be?
My alternative 3.
Well, the mitigation would be, like a condition would be, you'd have to, if the tree came down, you'd have to replant it.
You know, or you tell them that he's got to put a fence in front of it or something like that, where it's not
To the
as,
fence.
it's not as visible.
Well, that's a whole nother.
I know it's a whole other issue, but you could,
That's undesirable. Okay, all right, so any other conditions or mitigation you want to put in there?
I don't like the no parking one. I feel that infringes upon your freedom of your own property.
Well,
You could have people living, 5 people that are driving age living in your house.
I agree with
Just-
that.
And COVID, they come home and, I think that infringes upon your freedom.
Good point.
Well, when you're looking for a variance, if you were to grant the variance, then you can have conditions. Like it's a tit for tat.
but I think, like Claire's saying, I think that's a ultra oppressive
It is.
condition to put on somebody.
Mhm.
So they can park in this.
And also on the other side of that, extremely hard to enforce. Unless Tom sits in his front yard all the time.
Or unless it's
Neighbors
restored to grass.
Or just close down, to get the.
Yeah. I was gonna say, the thing with me is like
Oh.
you eliminate the ability really to park there by making it such where
Yeah.
right now it's wide enough where you would have it be 10 feet, however, 10 feet wide, so you can still technically park there, but it would reduce the number of parking spaces.
Okay. All right. Should we go to the next question? Or do we want to go back to that 4th question that we needed to think out some more? Let's go to the next question and we'll circle back to the other one. Whether the benefits to the applicant can be achieved by some other means, is there another way to achieve what they would like to do?
Yes.
Yes.
And what would that be?
Put the garage on the side of the house on the left side.
Make a tandem garage, make a raised
Same.
garage in the backyard.
Not do a garage? Or alternative 3.
Or move, rent a storage unit, side yard, tandem garage. So those are feasible alternatives. All right. Backyard still, but it's still wet. It's pretty significant. I think the size is, but I think its alternative is heighting. So, okay. Whether the results will have an adverse effects, physical or environmental effects on your neighborhood or surrounding areas. We're going back to that question.
Now everyone needs to answer it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'm gonna say no on that.
Yes.
No with conditions? Like trees or plantings or something?
No, I think that would go with the second question, the substantial character of the neighborhood. I think environmental, it's environmental. Is there environmental impact? With this alternative, there's not an environmental impact
I agree. With this second
with the
alternative,
second alternative.
environmental,
That's
Physical or environmental effects?
there's a
environmental,
physical effect.
visual. Is,
Okay,
if physical is visual or can be visual, then I say yes. Environmental, I probably say no.
I think I'm with you
Well, you
on that
can't
one.
split the question apart, it's one question, so. right?
So I would go default yes for me.
Yes, physical,
Okay. Physical. All right, whether the need for this variance is self-created,
yes.
yes.
Yes. I was thinking to say no to that one.
Okay,
What's your thought, Tim?
All right,
yes, what's the alternative 3?
alternative 3,
He's
and
even getting out for this.
bear with me on this one, okay?
Sorry, Mr. Woodridge.
No, I think this one actually, I've been thinking about this one a little bit, and I drove by your house earlier today, John. Knowing where, and I appreciate you moving it over this way, but I'm wondering if, what we could do, Tom, can you be the artist here?
Yeah, hold on one second.
Are you sure you want to
Draw it perpendicular. to what it is.
So what I'm thinking is, instead of having it going this way, turn it this way, okay? Go back far enough that it's not impeding on your home. You can get behind the tree to get in there. All you have to do is extend your driveway a little bit to get your stuff in there, right? Yeah. Well, if this goes back far enough, right, from the tree?
Yeah, so I would get 40 foot off the road. The other way, you'd have to go around this way, would be my access point.
Okay.
To the tree, which I don't know what like I said, I don't know where this line is compared to, I know where the side of the road is. This looks about 8 foot off the road. You know, yeah, I can get around the ditch and stuff to get in there. The whole point is, I don't know how that's visually, physically more appealing to have a driveway.
To me, what it does is it eliminates the footprint of the whole side view to the front view of it, right? So you'd only be looking here, if you go back to that picture, Tom. You'd only be looking here, instead of looking at the whole side view of that thing. You're only looking at the front. Right.
Basically behind the tree, but I understand.
Yeah, you'd just be looking at the front of it. And again, I'm trying to kind of take your accommodation and the limitations you have there, but with what Claire and Warren are thinking, and try to kind of meet in the middle.
But possible options, I did the elevation change from this tree down, so like I said, 1.5 feet, so to get a level garage, right?
Okay,
That entrance of the garage would have to be right up, so I'd have to either get a long, I'd have to have a whole driveway in the front, right around here to get access to a usable functioning garage, where I'm gonna put things like my boat, or my car, or,
so, okay.
type of thing, so. But that's.
So what's
Yeah, good idea.
what's the discussion?
Does that make sense, Warren? What I was
I
saying?
heard part of it,
What?
I heard part of
We
it.
could really hear it.
Okay, so if we go back to Tom's drawing, what he's talking about, Mr. Woodridge is getting if he's got the boat that he's trying to back in, right? So you got a full-size truck and a 18-foot boat.
Mhm.
You don't really have the clearance unless he goes around the front of it to get in. Well, what I'm like that, right? I'm trying to limit the physical obstruction that the neighbors would have a problem with, right? As a neighbor, if my neighbor did it, I would feel better about looking at an 8-foot wide front of a garage versus a whole side view, right? You're not covering the front of the house. It's a little less, it's what I'm trying to do is go based on what you guys were talking about
with up next to the house, I like that idea too, but going in this direction, it also eliminates. I mean, technically, if it was 20 foot off the side and 40 foot back, you don't need a variance.
Mr. Woodridge, is it 8 feet or 14?
Right. 12.
That says 14.
He said he would reduce
I
it to
reduced it
12.
to 12.
Oh,
Sorry, I meant to say 12. I should have.
all right.
Okay. So based on the two that were presented, alternatives, the first one and second one. ZBA, after all the questions that we answered, ZBA, the benefit of this applicant does not outweigh the detriment of the neighborhood or community, and therefore the variance request will be denied based off of two speaker questions. We asked for both alternatives.
Based on our answers, yes.
Yes. So it's denied.
The benefit say it again, I just
The
want to.
benefit to the applicant does not outweigh the detriment to the neighborhood or community, therefore the variance request will be denied based off our questions, the answers to the questions, to the two alternatives,
To both or just the first?
to both. Okay,
I have a question.
yeah,
I know what you want to do, I think.
So just.
You said you had a Corvette,
okay.
a vintage car.
I have a vintage car, it's in the garage now, and you guys are proposing to put the garage in front of me in tandem, so that's why I wouldn't do that.
Okay. What if you were to put the garage, as I had mentioned the last time, next to the house, on the left,
Outside,
where that, right where he's drawing, right there?
well, not, right, so not birch tree now.
Well, yeah, the hedges that I'm looking at, can you go down the road a little bit, Tom, to the left? Okay, those hedges are, well, that's too far. Okay, yes, those hedges are not on your property, correct?
I think Warren, I see the survey, thing, it's probably like right here, on the
Okay.
property line, so they vegged in a little bit, not
Okay.
for the most part.
But there are some on your property.
Correct.
Okay. So there is the room to put a garage next to the house. You need a firewall.
Within 5 feet, yeah, it would have to be rated.
Okay,
The structure would have to be rated.
okay, but it's possible.
Yes.
That would mean if that was done, you would have very little room on the other side of the garage, but I would be inclined to give you a variance on the left side if the garage was going to be there. First of all, you have a natural screening to the house that's to the left. It wouldn't upset the neighbors because there's nothing like it in the neighborhood. And if you were to take your vintage car and put it in that garage and move your boat to the other garage, you could back the car into the garage on the left.
I come around from the tree and drive up the side of the lawn.
Oh, it looked to me like you got a clear shot to the left of that oak tree. You could back that right up in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, coming around the front of the tree, between the tree and the road.
Yeah.
And then you come up, I was just,
And then put the boat in the other garage. I mean, I think, unless I heard you wrong, the first time you were here, you said you wanted to park a motorcycle and a boat in this garage.
yeah, I got rid of my motorcycle.
Okay,
You know,
okay,
yeah, you were right, good memory.
okay. I think that's doable.
Yeah, so
You
again,
have to bring dirt in.
put it here,
Yeah,
so knock down both these trees, the garage.
I don't even think you have to knock down the front tree. Yeah, just the one, just the one above it. That
Well,
one.
I gotta get this out of the way, it's right in the middle of where I would pull, I can't get in between, I'd have to knock this up. This is not a viable tree anyways, it's like partially dead, it's not a big loss, okay, let's just identify that.
Okay,
This is a viable, it's a nice birch tree, right? But, I mean, if you got 30 foot off that front of that birch tree, it only puts that garage out here then, Warren, to your idea, right? You're right, it gets it off the road.
I'm trying to think of how you can get this done.
Yeah.
I have a problem with the neighbors looking at this and I'm having trouble with that. To look out at somebody else's front lawn and see a garage there, especially one of that size. I have a problem with that.
If it was a typical neighborhood, I could understand.
And I'm trying to think of a way that you can get this done.
I get you.
And it seems to me that the tree would have to come down and you fill that with dirt and build that up. You've got the room to do it, and I would be inclined, I don't think I would have a problem with the variance on the left side, given everything else.
Well, it's a very different kind of variance.
Yes,
It'd be a different conversation, but
Right.
it's not, yeah.
Those variances.
Yeah, I have to resubmit.
Yeah.
Draw that out, resubmit for consideration, right?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
I'd have to draw that out, resubmit it to
Yeah.
Carrie, so she could re-propose and come back, so it could be.
Or-
trees that would have to come up
The
the birch tree and the one that's
in front of it.
not as wide.
So I,
Well,
thank you
it
for
could,
the option.
it could be.
I'm not inclined to take that birch tree down. It's too damn nice, and I'm not gonna do that for the sake of a personal garage. I just don't think it's the right thing to do. But thank you, Warren, on that side. I'm not gonna take on the additional expense. I was trying to do this within a set budget. I had to bring in considerable amount of grade there and then figure out how I get entry to that, because it's gonna be off the ground a little bit. I just think because of the added tax, I thank you again. I would not consider that as an option that I would propose to you folks, okay?
What about this one? Did he propose?
And I heard you guys say you denied both 1 and 2.
We did, 1 and 2.
Right.
Well, we gotta make a motion. Based on discussions, would someone make a motion?
Well,
Oh, go ahead.
what do you think of what I had suggested? Changing the orientation of it.
It's better. I ain't gotta knock down a tree. It makes it easier to get to. I still have to come around from the tree just like if we're, or whether it's here or here, I'd like it here next to the tree and easier to get to and less grade work to do, so it's more viable for me.
Let me ask you another question. How far in front of that birch tree, if you were to build a shed, a garage, sorry, how far would it protrude from the edge of the house, which is the parallel part to the road? Tom, if you drew that rectangle off the birch tree,
This way?
yep, going forward, just take it and move it to where, in front of that birch tree.
Like this?
Well, and
Back.
then back it up to the birch tree.
The second birch tree in the back.
Doesn't like my erasing marks, but. Okay.
Yeah, so we're just using the things, all 15, that's it's right in the middle, so that's 31 foot, the house, right, it's about 15 foot, so it's another 15 foot off the front. If you're doing what you say, put it in front of it. So straight out 15 foot from the
Well,
front of
it
the house.
would be in conformance with the other side there.
Is that what you were asking?
That's what I'm asking.
It would, yeah, it would be a good
If
compliment.
it's a 30 foot, garage, 15 foot on the side of the house, 15 foot in front.
I'm just trying to think of alternatives.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do too, where you're
Is
changing
that
the,
fence there?
No, it
Okay.
was a wire fence.
Hmm.
I was surprised it was that this year, but it's a pretty small.
Okay, so let's go based off the first alternative and the second alternative. To make a, based on our discussions, would someone make a motion to grant to deny an area variance for this applicant
Of both alternatives.
of both alternatives, alternative 1, alternative B?
I make a motion that we deny the variance for alternative 1 and alternative 2.
You have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. So applicant, you've been denied your request for a variance for alternative 1 and alternative B. So we appreciate you coming tonight.
Is there further discussion about this last alternative?
I think so.
Do you want to talk about the last alternative? Do you want to discuss further, Mr. Woodridge?
I'd like to come to some type of understanding on whether I have any options. I think some options have been proposed that are not completely irrelevant. I don't mind Warren's proposal, where it is. I don't necessarily want to knock the tree down. If you guys think that, hey, if you did put it in front of the birch tree and it's only protruding 15 foot off the side yard, it's out of visual. I mean, Tim, you've been by my house, you can't really, that tree is so big in the front.
The front tree is-
Destructs somebody seeing my house.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even know the garage is there, and then it would minimize a little bit more of the grading work I'd have to do because it's pulled out when you save a tree. It'd be something I would consider going through the practice of that. But I wouldn't want to go through the whole process again to come
Yeah.
back and have it be
Yeah.
Can you draw that
denied,
again
and let's just avoid that.
Yeah.
as best you can, just so
I
people
think
can.
you had it about right here.
And I will
No,
say,
I don't
Mr.
think-
Woodridge,
No, it's,
No, the other one.
no, the other one.
Where it was up, closer on the other side.
which, I'm gonna say something though, real quick. If this was a different town, most likely there would be a code that wouldn't allow any storage. Am I
In
in
the front
disregard
yard,
in the
yeah.
front yard?
Agreed.
But because it's town of Manlius, we don't have that code on the books. So that is why you're able to come
It's
before
even
us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good point.
so but I understand it's not a typical neighborhood. But this is long-term, and if things change in that area,
At the end of the
But,
day,
yeah.
everybody, it's not gonna kill me if I
Yeah.
can't do anything. I wanted to know what I could do. I
Yeah.
started proposing something that I thought was kind of fair. I tried to make some adjustments that I thought would get us to a common ground. I think good suggestions have been made.
I
That's
appreciate
back on me whether I would
Yeah.
consider that or not. At the end of the day, if you guys deny all options, it tells me what I can do and what I can't do on my property living there,
yeah,
right? I might choose to sell and go someplace else. It was up to me to buy the house for the amount of property that was there. I mean, I'm not ignorant to the fact that there's codes and size of property and the variances and stuff, so.
and we do appreciate it.
I'm not saying, not.
Yeah,
I
Well,
understand.
as, Mr. Woodridge goes off to look at this, is there any warmth to this idea? If he brings it back to this one?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'd have some warmth depending on how far it protrudes beyond the level of the house, because I have a problem with a garage being in a front lawn, and I wouldn't want to see that.
But then I also see if you put it on there, it's kind of complimentary to the driveway. Like it's uniform.
I'm trying to think of a
That's
way
just it.
that this can happen.
I wouldn't be, open to Tim's suggestion. I think that's still a bit,
You mean moving it behind the oak tree?
yeah, hard, yeah.
Or switch the.
Yeah, I would probably go along with.
So simply put,
Well-
the only option is on the left side where Warren is
Yeah.
sitting. And Warren to
What
the
I-
idea, if the birch tree came down and it was parallel,
so,
If the birch tree came down and you were to build that and it was to meet the front of the house, I would not have any opposition.
thank you for that clarity.
Because in my way of thinking, I'm looking at this like you'd have to bring dirt in there. You've already got a natural barrier to the next door yard. So they wouldn't have to, you probably won't even see it, the way those, at least in the summer.
It's a pine, so you're.
Okay. I thought that was a reasonable alternative, given that you've got the distance between the house and the garage, if it was the proper fire rating, that you could do it, you have the space to do it.
So
And I just wanna give one more, is there any I know you're trying to you have cars and other things. You could go like this, relatively, I'm saying this, it is feasible, you would be able to put a jack and a king stud here, jack and king stud here, open this up, and you would have to get your neighbor's permission, and you could open the back of this up and butt another structure up to it, because they would technically be independent of each other, you could weather tight them. Is that something? I mean,
What you said, when I bought the house 3 years ago, I got an estimate to knock the garage down, right? And because the garage,
the headers go this, or the roof line goes this way, it doesn't go this way, or else it would have been easy to stack the garage on the back of it by just extending it out. So the garage would have to be turned. So he was like, listen, it's easier because of the age of the garage, because of the floor
Yeah,
condition.
I
Why
didn't-
don't we knock it down and I'll put a double decker garage in there? So it's funny you say that because that's what I was originally gonna do.
That's not it, it's not as easy now.
No,
You're building.
So I discounted that just because I was like, I don't know, knock the entire thing down, it was 11 grand to knock it and deprecate it, 40 pieces, and then 40 grand to put a whole new garage in, so I was like, wow. I'll kick the can to, and I said, maybe I'll have an option to put, a small garage in someplace, so, and that's what sends me here, to see what my options were, so.
Okay,
So what I'm hearing you say is, if I can meet Warren's criteria, as far as it not being in the front yard, it would have to be parallel to the house. There is no easement from you on whether,
15 feet, I think, is significant. Because the whole point was that you said you do not want to cut the tree down, and that's your decision, I understand that. I'm just saying, if the tree wasn't there, you could do this. And
so
probably.
knock the
without
tree down,
objection.
put it parallel with the house, it would seem like that'd be the best fit. Don't knock the tree down, put it in front of the tree, be 15 foot off the house, that would not be,
I think 15 feet is excessive, personally.
even though it's 40 foot off the front of the road.
Well,
Because I
no,
don't
you
need a
need a side
variance for
variance.
40 foot, all I need is a variance for the side. So you wouldn't have a say whether that was there, and as long as I'm 40 foot off the front of the road, all I need was a side variance then.
Right,
So it would,
but I wouldn't have a problem with the side variance there.
right, so you wouldn't, I could not knock the birch tree down, come back with plans and say, I'm gonna put it in front of the birch tree, it's gonna be 15 foot off the protruding front side of the house, so it puts it technically in my front yard, but 40 foot off my easement line. I don't need a variance for that.
What about the side?
For the side, which you guys said wouldn't be a big deal, as long as, to Tom's point, if it's too close to the house, I need some type of fire, with a fire code.
Sheet, that's all it is.
Well, when any kind of variance is asked for, the whole thing comes into purview. So that's why they're trying to, I think, come up with alternatives.
I just don't want to, we
Should go through this
cycle,
I get it.
And
I get it.
we're just trying to test it, like,
Yep.
if that's the case, I wouldn't need a front side variance. I think it's a great idea, if I want it, right? I need a side yard, which I think would be easier. As Warren already said, nobody can see it, it's not,
I guess
as long as it meets Tom's criteria as far as, fire code, not too close to the house or. as
It is
fire
a-
protection.
we're presenting it's a viable, it's an alternative option that we'd be willing to
Go through the criteria.
go through the criteria again. It seems to be, you have more for that one than it is these two alternatives on the previous one. Okay,
I'll consider it. If I choose to, I'd go back through the same process with Carrie that I
Yeah.
did the first few times, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
okay,
I appreciate everybody's conversation and options and.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
so,
I think I would just have to see what the final plans are of how far that would come out, so I can get that straight in my mind.
Okay, that's fair. I gotta figure out like, how much grading work would have to be done on the side of the house and then I can do the plans out of this permit, how much more additional expense, But I do appreciate the options of being able to talk through it with you all.
all right,
On that.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
All set?
all set, thank you very
Have a
much.
good evening.
You too. Other business?
Yep, just a couple things, guys. Next Wednesday, March 27th at 5 PM, the board is having a work session to talk about accessory dwelling units. And they're inviting both ZBA boards and planning boards to come to those meetings to discuss and bring up any concerns that you may have.
Have you circulated that to everyone, or can you say where it can be found?
The planning board,
Yes.
an email was sent to all planning board members and the
The planning
ZBA
board, I
board.
know, okay.
Yeah.
Did you all see the actual
Yeah.
proposed legislation?
What day of the week is that?
For, that is
Wednesday,
also.
5:00.
Yeah, that's also online on the agenda for the work session that was just published today. So you can get that online for the work session minutes.
It's a pretty significant change, so I think people who are interested, in what's happening in the town, can really look at that.
I appreciate them having us come to give some input.
I don't believe anything is allowed to be given a variance under that local law, though. I don't think they allow for any variances.
That's not exactly what it says.
Okay.
It's
There are
pretty
some things that
complicated.
could be varied.
Correct, yes, yeah.
I didn't think they were allowing any type of variance to grant.
No, it had to do with, I forget, I looked at it, it wasn't everything.
Yes,
Okay,
yep, it's on the agenda for the work
You want me
session.
to run it for you, Claire? Or bring it to you tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay. I
Okay.
put that on my to-do list on my Outlook.
All right, then the next one is kind of a big one. April 10th, we are having a legal analysis of the town code work session with the board at 5 o'clock. Again, you guys are all welcome to come to that. What's going to happen with that is Carrie's coming and she's gonna get a binder. We're gonna try and get together. Right now, our meeting for, April is a big one. We've right now got 3. One of them is gonna be a large one, which is Spectrum. So that meeting, we're not gonna really have time for that additional business to go over the codes. The goal of us having you guys go through the codes is to look for anything that's inaccurate. We're just looking for accuracy, and we also want you guys to maybe come up with a list of things that you want us to look at in the future of changes with the codes with zoning and, with zoning, right?
zoning, I mean, any of the planning related ones that do come here for variances, which could be lot coverage.
Things in the front yard.
Yeah, I mean, anything that we've seen, we had a dumpster corral come before us previously. So that was, I mean, well, it's zone, anything within chapter 155 or chapter, for subdivisions of land or site plan, which is, I think, 155-27. So anything of that nature which could come before the board, or, I mean, just general planning related items within the town.
So with that, if you're planning on coming to the April 10th one, just let me know so I can make sure I have a paper copy for you that day. So that you can go home, jot notes. Once that meeting's over, and again, because our April meeting is so heavy, we're looking at having a possible additional meeting on May 9th for all of us to come together and you guys to kind of sort out what your thoughts are, what you guys want changed, so that Carrie can make notes in her binder so that it can be turned into the board at the end of May.
That makes sense.
If our agenda for our May meeting is not heavy, then we'll knock out the 9th meeting and just do it on I think it's the 16th. Does that make sense?
The April meeting is what time?
Like you say, 3 is
April.
heavy, wait till we get to 7.
Well, this one's heavy because,
Because of what it is.
yeah. I'm sorry, what was that? Do you-
I got the answer.
I apologize.
It's okay. No, you're doing well, doing great.
Okay. Any questions on that, guys? and Gals?
Okay.
All right, is anybody definitely planning on being there the 10th so I can make sure I have packets for you? I know you will.
What day of the week is that?
It's a Wednesday at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I can be.
Okay, so you guys are all 3.
Wow, look at us
Look at that.
representing.
I just gotta check with Eric. I will, reach out to him and make sure that, see if he's gonna be here. I can't imagine he wouldn't come for that, so.
Okay.
So I will make sure I have packets for all of you guys, when you get here on the 10th. And our committee's gonna just do a short presentation and then the board's gonna have at it and, you guys can take
Is there a
notes.
consultant leading this code?
General code is doing the updates.
Mhm.
We as a town are just going through to look at what their suggestions are and what changes may need to be made. There are a bunch that we're just wording or standardizing penalties and fees based on, misdemeanors and all that. So there are some that we as a group, meaning myself, Tom, Allison and Lisa, were able to go through and we're calling those, like low impact decisions.
Yeah.
So you will see those, but then there are some high impact decisions that we need feedback from the board on, that they'll be discussing.
Logan?
I have nothing else unless you guys have something for me.
No, I had Carrie print out our comprehensive plan that was adopted in July of 2023. I don't think you guys knew too much about it, so if you have a time to review what's in our comprehensive plan.
And then go to the two
And then
meetings.
go to the two meetings, you could do all that, right? Or to give you, did you get that?
I've read it about 12 times already.
Okay, well, people may not.
I went to a lot of the meetings,
Yeah, that was it.
well aware.
So, just keep that in mind, because kind of what ZBA does impacts that or what comprehensive plan says.
Yeah, and I will mail packets
yeah.
out for the, April meeting, just because of the size of the packet for one of the applications.
We appreciate that. Do you hear that, Warren?
Yes.
Yeah, he was looking into
Okay.
it.
All right. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.